Ever had a morning when you're standing in your own front yard, wearing pajamas and some overcaffeinated HO? A president is threatening to take your house unless you move your fence. Because I have, and let me tell you nothing. Says good morning like a $500 fine shoved into your chest before you've even had your coffee. That was the day I realized some folks don't just love power, they crave it like oxygen. And if you ever end up in their way, well, buckle up. You know, I moved to Willowbrook Estates just looking for a little peace. Not excitement, not drama, just a modest house with enough room for a woodworking shop and, yeah, some space to breathe after a divorce that just about took me out at the knees. I'm Dante. I'm 45, electrical engineer. Divorced, lost half my savings, maybe more than half my faith in fairness. But I'll tell you, this house was supposed to be my restart button. I guess I should have seen the warning signs. 3 weeks after I moved in there, she was. Veronica. She's the type of woman who walks across concrete and makes it sound like gunshots. Heels, sharp platinum hair, every inch screaming, I own this place. Literally. She actually does own the biggest house on the block. And she runs the HOA like it's her own little country. Picture this early morning sun barely up. I'm sipping coffee and watching through the window as Veronica, armed with an actual yellow ruler, is crouched on someone's lawn measuring the grass. Individual blades. I kid you not. I remember thinking, please let her lose that ruler in a sewer grate. But that's not how my luck runs. Thing is, Veronica wasn't just strict, she was selective. Jim down the street put up the same chain link fence as mine. She brought him cookies and gushed about his smart investment. Mrs. Patterson planted her roses a little over the property line. Veronica gave her gardening tips. But me, the day after I put up my fence with every permit in place and not a single inch over the boundary, she was on my porch with that Arctic smile and a violation notice talking about aesthetic harmony. When I pointed down the street at Morrison's fence, identical to mine, she just smiled. His was pre approved through proper channels, she said, even though I'd checked his wasn't. Not even close. That's when it hit me. There was a pattern. The folks getting targeted, me the black guy who just moved in after a divorce. Mrs. Rodriguez, single mom, always working late. Mr. Kim, who mostly kept to himself and spoke English with a heavy accent. Meanwhile, every white homeowner could forget to mow their lawn for a month and get nothing but a cheerful reminder. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But then one night, while I'm installing a motion sensor, I overhear Veronica in the yard next door laughing with her friend about encouraging the right kind of turnover. She called people like me certain elements. You know, the kind who make property values drop. The screwdriver slipped in my hand and damn near took off my thumbnail, but the pain was nothing compared to what I felt inside. I'd seen this kind of game before, in divorce court, where rules are just a tool for whoever's already winning. Veronica had no idea the war she'd just started. It didn't take long for her to show her hand. I'm at work one day, literally trying to keep half the city's traffic lights on, when I get a text from Mrs. Tessa, my neighbor. HOA. People are in your yard, taking pictures with a contractor. My heart just dropped. I called Veronica, and she answered all business. Emergency property inspection, she said. Safety concerns. You can't just, I started, but she cut me off. Section 4.7 of the HOA grants emergency access. And hung up. I came home to boot prints and my Marigold's measuring tape marks on my fence, new violation notices under my door. They claimed my fence was unsafe, the foundation was unstable, whatever they could invent. But here's where fate decided to play on my side for once. The next morning, Mrs. Tessa 78 walks, like autumn leaves in the wind, shuffles over, and says I recorded them. She'd been filming from her kitchen window while pretending to do dishes. Her old flip phone video was wobbly, but the sound crystal clear. Veronica telling the contractor, if we can document structural issues, the city will require removal, regardless of permits. The contractor wasn't having it. Looks fine to me, ma'am. Up to code. Veronica snapped, that's not what I'm paying you to find. But the real stinger. As they walked away, Veronica hissed, we can't have his type lowering property standards. Sometimes you have to be creative. That was it. It wasn't just harassment, it was targeted. And not just at me. Mrs. Tessa whispered, been happening for years. To all of us. Inspections after misses. Rodriguez complained about street lights after Mr. Kim asked about the playground. Always safety emergencies, always when we weren't home. That weekend, my garage turned into a detective's office. Piles of papers, coffee stains, HOA records from 3 years. I started following the money. And you know what I found? Veronica's real estate company, Sterling Properties, had gotten $45,000 in contracts from the HOA in 1 year. Emergency inspections, landscape consulting, all shuttled to businesses linked to her friends or her company. But the bombshell. Every one of those emergency inspections was supposed to require board approval. 24-hour notice, all that. She'd just been rubber stamping them herself, calling it presidential emergency powers. None of it legit. So I filed a complaint with evidence, including Mrs. Tessa's video, with the State Oversight Committee. Then I installed 4 security cameras with night vision signs everywhere. No trespassing. Security system in use. Violators will be prosecuted. 2 days later, Veronica drove by in her BMW, slow reading the signs. She didn't get out. But she didn't give up. Next, it was financial warfare. Certified letter, $2,500 in fines. Notice of lien placement. I could lose my house. The board had held a secret emergency session with no notice approved by Veronica and her friends over breakfast pastries. And, as if that wasn't enough, contractors started dropping me left and right. Sorry, can't do. Your deck don't want drama word is you're a troublemaker. Veronica had called around, smeared my name, made sure nobody would touch my house. The game was clear. Make it impossible to fix my property. Rack up more violations, then foreclose. But I wasn't about to roll over. I dug deeper. No proper annual meeting in 3 years illegal. Major HOA decisions all made informally. The treasurer was funneling money to his own tree service company, $15,000 for emergency landscaping. It was like a mafia with a neighborhood newsletter. So I called Sarah Martinez, a property attorney. If you ever need to see what joy looks like in a lawyer's eyes, show them a box of evidence this juicy. This isn't just fighting a lien, she said. We're taking down their whole operation. She started a counter lawsuit, got the state and feds involved. I organized a neighborhood meeting, 17 families, each with a story, each with evidence. It felt like an uprising in a coffee shop. By the end, we had 7 families filing coordinated complaints. Veronica's empire started to crack. And apparently, desperation makes you stupid, because that's when she decided to go nuclear. One Saturday, I'm in my shop, finally making cedar curls on my old hand plane when I hear chainsaws. I run outside, 3 guys ready to cut down my 80-year-old oak. Emergency removal, the work order said. Signed by Veronica. Claiming it was about to fall on someone's house. The tree was fine. It was there before the HOA existed. I called 911. By the time the cops showed up, 3 limbs were already on the lawn. But in the mess, I spotted something weird in the branches, metal, not wood. Cameras. 4 of them, high-end, freshly installed. Turns out Veronica had been using these emergency services to plant surveillance all over the troublemakers' yards. Officer Martinez ran the serial numbers, registered to Sterling Properties, illegal surveillance, federal privacy violations, the feds got involved. It snowballed suddenly. My property wasn't just the site of a neighborly feud, but a federal crime scene. And while the FBI was carting off the cameras, I was in the county office digging through dusty records. That's where I found the original HOA charter, with a little clause about right of first refusal for corner lots like mine. If a corner lot owner sells HOA, gets first shot at buying through a preferred agent, which happened to be Surprise Sterling Properties. Veronica would buy, low flip high, and pocket the profit. This wasn't harassment, it was theft with paperwork. Sarah's voice shook on the phone when I explained it. Dante, this is racketeering. They'd been targeting and harassing people into selling, then flipping the houses. Gerald, the treasurer, got the renovation contracts. Diane, at the bank, handled lowball appraisals. 7 families in 3 years. All problematic homeowners, all gone. Thing is, I'm not a guy who folds. They'd picked the wrong engineer. I got technical. Literally. I built an electric fence, legal permitted, posted with warnings, motion activated, only live when someone tried to cut it or climb it. 10,000 volts, low amps. Enough to make you remember the lesson, not enough to send you to the morgue. Installation weekend felt like prepping for D-Day. Power lines buried transformers humming. Cameras everywhere. Emergency cutoff, safety paperwork all in place. Police notified in advance. By Sunday night, my backyard was a fortress, and every inch was legal. The feds were closing in on Veronica. She tried bribery, even offered a county inspector $2,000 to declare my fence a hazard. He was wearing a wire. Strike one. Next came the smear campaign telling neighbors I was violent, unstable, probably dangerous. Problem was, my neighbors were tired of her too. They brought me recordings, then insurance fraud. She tried to get my homeowner's insurance canceled with fake inspection reports. She was stacking up felonies like a pro. By now, Gerald was hitting the bottle. Diane looked haunted, and Veronica, well, she doubled down. And that's how I ended up one night watching on my phone as 3 shadows crept across my yard at 2:17 a.m. Veronica, Gerald, and Diane. Flashlights, bolt cutters, bags for evidence disposal. They weren't just vandalizing. They were trying to erase all proof. Obstruction, tampering, federal charges for days. I called Sarah. She said, don't activate the fence yet. Let them commit. So I waited heart hammering. Gerald moved in first cutters on the post. Veronica tablet ready, taking pictures to make it look like storm damage. When Gerald finally snipped the wire, he got the shock of his life. 10,000 volts snapped through him. He flew backward like a puppet with its strings cut. Diane ran to help, same result, airborne. Veronica, never one to admit defeat, picked up the bolt cutters herself. Her hair shot straight up, she staggered into my flower bed, and her tablet shattered on the mailbox post. Automatic system called 911. 4 minutes later, cops and paramedics were hauling them off the lawn. FBI showed up, news crews followed. By sunrise, my backyard was famous. Charges, racketeering, fraud, conspiracy, civil rights violations. Veronica, still tangled in my fence, tried to call it entrapment. The FBI agent just grinned. It's called evidence, ma'am. 6 months later, I'm sitting on my deck, sipping coffee, watching kids play. The check arrives, $24,000. Settlement. The HOA is under new leadership. Neighbors are actually neighbors. My oak tree is back. The fence is still there, humming legal and legendary. What did I learn? It's not just about fences or even houses. It's about standing your ground, literally and figuratively. Some people will test you, push to see what you'll tolerate. What they don't expect is for you to stay calm, document everything, and fight back with facts. So, here's my question for you. Ever had to deal with someone like Veronica? Someone who thought their little bit of power meant they could steamroll you? I'd love to hear about it. And if you've ever won a battle with nothing but documentation and stubbornness, maybe you know just how satisfying that victory tastes. Let me know your story. Sometimes quiet resistance is the loudest answer of all.